superfanatics, comic books, friends, fun discussion, video show. Superfanatics, comic books, friends, fun discussion, video show.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of SUPERDIVORCE's SUPERFANATICS. I am Nicholas. And today we're going to be talking about a 1989 DC Elseworlds one-shot, Batman, Gotham by Gaslight. The first title released under DC's Elseworlds imprint, which was a way to allow storytellers within the DC company to tell stories of established DC characters that wouldn't impact the main DC timeline, the main continuity that they had done so much work cleaning up during the 80s. So when this book was released, it actually came out a little bit before the Elseworlds imprint was a thing. So the first run of these books didn't have that imprint, but shortly thereafter, actually the same year, the next run of the books carried that logo, as did the rest of the titles that came out that kind of did the same thing. Messed around with characters that you knew about, but didn't impact the main storylines that, had been told throughout the years. This one, Gotham by Gaslight, written by Brian Augustin, a guy who had worked for DC for a while doing editorial work. This is his first big book that he had written. The sequel to it, Batman Master of the Future, also written by Brian. I have not read that one. I'm interested in checking it out, especially after reading this. So maybe we'll do a future episode on that one. Huh? Okay. So Brian also did some work on The Flash, JLA, and a slew of titles since. Still working in the biz. Pencils, you might recognize the art style if you flip through it. If you're a fan of Hellboy, the pencils were done by Mike Mignola of Hellboy fame. And I thought it was interesting when I was doing some research for this episode to find out some of the other stuff that Mike had done. I'm not a big Hellboy fan, so as I was checking up on the background info and such, I found out that he has done a lot outside of comics. He was the illustrator on Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula production. He did production design on Disney's Atlantis, The Lost Empire. He was a concept artist on Blade 2, the movie, and also a concept artist on Pixar's Brave. And then another thing, if you're a fan of Batman the Animated Series, he did character design for that show. Most notably, he redesigned Mr. Freeze. So if you enjoy that character and the way it looks, that was straight from Mike. So little tidbits for you, right? We start out this book with a letter from Jack the Ripper. If you're not familiar with the concept at all of this story, it can be boiled down to Batman versus Jack the Ripper. So you open up, first page is just one letter, handwritten from Jack the Ripper himself. Not the real one, of course. It was really written by a gentleman called Robert Bloch. And Bloch was a mentee of H.P. Lovecraft, I believe the youngest of Lovecraft's inner circle of writer friends. And also, this gentleman, this Robert Bloch, was the writer of Psycho the book, which the movie was based off of. So that's pretty cool. And he also wrote a story called Yours Truly, Jack the Ripper. He was apparently pretty fascinated with Jack the Ripper, which is, I'm guessing, why they got him to write this letter in the first place. But the short story, Yours Truly, Jack the Ripper, was the first story to really suggest the idea of him being this supernatural killer, where he had to kill in order to achieve immortality. So long as he continued taking lives of the ladies of the night, he would continue to live. And so that kind of motivated him to carry on with these killings. If you ever run across that motif in a Jack the Ripper story, Robert Bloch was the first man to do it, and he is associated here with our book. When we get into the actual panels of the comic book itself, it starts off with a 2-page spread that is, in my opinion, the most efficient, effective depiction of the Martha and Thomas Wayne murders that I've ever seen. And it's so simple and it's so quick, but you can linger on it for a while. And the black and white tone gives you all you need to know as far as suggesting a memory. This is taking place in the past. And you just have to see it and read it and sit with it for a while. The way the bats come in at the end is very organic and very natural feeling. And in my opinion, it's a perfect way for the Batman character to begin his journey as a very young Bruce Wayne. And I never hear anyone talk about the opening to this book, but like I said, I've seen many depictions of that very segment. The Martha and Thomas Wayne murders is always them coming out of a theater or something of that nature in a dark alley. This is really cool. They're just out through the woods, on an old gravel road or something, and yeah, amazing, really. I don't know why I can talk about that for so long, but I could just gush about it. Anywho, moving on from there to the present in the story, which takes place in 1889. We open up with Bruce Wayne in Vienna, speaking with the Sigmund Freud. He's been there doing some study with Mr. Freud as part of his 5-year excursion to Europe, which is just wrapping up when we see him speaking with Freud in Freud's office. And so from there, he jumps on a ship, crosses the Atlantic back over to the States, and does so with the company of his good buddy and longtime family friend, Jacob Parker, or Uncle Jake as he's also called in the story. Once they arrive in the States, he's picked up by the old trusty and always loyal Alfred, taken back to Wayne Manor, and, has no interest in checking out any of the luxuries that he's been missing while away. He goes straight to the bat suit to make sure that it's okay, and it's there. So it's established from the beginning that the Batman character apparently existed before he came back home, and took a break, and now he's back to pick up where he left off. He goes to visit James Gordon. By the way, do you want to add anything here? I don't feel like I'm talking a lot. So he goes to visit Detective James Gordon, not Commissioner here. Detective James Gordon, they kind of shoot the shit for a while about the growth and expansion of Gotham in the 5 years that Bruce has been gone, and also the growth and expansion of evil and crime that has occurred while he's been gone. This suggests a need for Batman to return, and a little Easter egg they drop in, I suppose, is when James Gordon is telling Bruce about a criminal that they caught, and he refers to him as a merry widower. The guy apparently wed and then poisoned 10 elderly women who were all wealthy. And when the cops finally caught up to him, he took his own poison in order to commit suicide, but failed, leaving his face paralyzed in a certain way. Kind of fun that they throw that in there, because it's not really about those two going at it, but he's around. So with Bruce back, it's the return of Batman to Gotham, but it seems that Jack the Ripper has also decided to show up as well, and they give you a glimpse into the mind of Jack the Ripper pretty early on, and when they do, it kind of hints at some inferiority, and maybe that being a motivating factor for him doing what he's doing. he's very scary. He presents himself that way, but you get a glimpse into his mind and see that maybe he's just like a butthurt guy, so doing some very awful things because of it. And from there, when Batman shows up and Jack the Ripper shows up at the same time, conclusions start being made by the public and by the Commissioner Tolliver, who I believe to be a fat prick. Conclusions are drawn that Jack the Ripper might actually be Batman, and Batman might be Jack the Ripper. Crazy. So that gives Batman some good motivation to go out and stop this guy before it goes too far. And from there, somehow Tolliver also gets in mind that Bruce Wayne is Jack the Ripper. He never makes the connection that Jack the Ripper, Bruce Wayne, and Batman might all be the same person. He separately concludes that Batman is Jack and then Bruce Wayne's Jack. He doesn't really follow that. Didn't thread it together somehow. Yeah. Bad police work. Bad commissioner work, I guess. All around. Because Bruce is not Jack the Ripper, and neither is Batman. Jack the Ripper is Jack the Ripper. Who is that? It's a mystery. But Tolliver gets this idea in his head that Bruce is Jack, and so they find a murder weapon at Bruce's home at Wayne Manor. They take him into Arkham Asylum. He's locked up, and he's going to hang in 5 days if he doesn't figure out a way to stop this mess. Which, of course, it's Bruce Wayne. He finds a way out of it. He gets back out there, and that leads to the final act of the story, the showdown, the final climax of the book, which is amazing. It's everything you want it to be, in my opinion. It's not drawn out, That would be the only complaint, is that you want it to go on longer. But sometimes that's great because you don't get bored. In this book, but I'm really talking a lot today. Do you want to weigh in at all? Okay, anyhow, this is a great ending for many reasons, and I'm not going to spoil it, but just the way it looks, the feel of it, seeing Batman going after Jack the Ripper is just cool in and of itself. To see how it plays out and to see how it wraps up makes it even better. So this one shot right here, this 1989 one shot, go and pick it up. Just pick it up. I'll link to it in the info section down below this video. Go on Amazon and grab yourself a copy and read it, because it's excellent. Excellent Batman book. And I wish that I would have read it sooner. I've heard about it for years. I've seen it many times while I've been out. Just never bothered. But I finally picked it up, and I'm very glad I did. And I don't know. I hope that he's like back from wherever he is right now next time. Maybe we'll talk about Old Man Logan next week. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for joining us here on Super Fanatics. I am Nicholas. This is Bender. And we'll see you next time.
Superfanatics, superfanatics. Comic books, friends, fun discussion, video